are open to the public. That's the one thing I don't quite. Bruce Stedman, if you can hear me, would you raise your hand? Hmm. Okay. I think everyone can hear us.
Let's see where we are with
We got a whole bunch of attendees now, seven.
Yeah, Bruce has raised his hand,
Thank
suggesting.
you, Bruce.
Yeah.
okay. So I'm just looking for my participant list for a moment. So I can see what the attendees are like, and then we will go forward. So having said that, um, I'm going to call a Transportation Parking Commission meeting of August 12th, 2026 to order. It is now 3 minutes after 5 p.m. And this is a meeting that, pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025, is being conducted via remote means. Members of the public who wish to access the meeting remotely, you're able to do so via Zoom or by telephone. No in-person attendance of members of the public is permitted, but every effort has been made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. So having made that required announcement, what I would like to do is confirm that members of the commission can hear me and be heard. So I will just go in order and I'll tell you who is not available as I go through my alphabetical list. Mr. Bagg.
Here.
And it's our understanding that Mr. Leifer is on vacation. Councilor McLeod.
Present.
Superintendent Mooring.
Here.
Mr. Rudewalt.
Here.
Councilor Ryan.
I'm here.
We know that Chief Ting is on vacation, and so we're down to Ms. Tremblay as the last person to ask,
Present. Thank you.
which is only because of the end of the alphabet. Uh, and of course, I am present, so that constitutes everyone on the Transportation Parking Commission. The agenda today has been published. I am going to suggest that we change the order with in one regard, and that is we will keep the orders the same so that after agenda review, we will do public comment, then immediately go to the West Street crosswalk at Mount Holyoke Drive public meeting. After that, be back to the order of the agenda and a report on the plan for traffic when the Amethyst Brook School opens, next steps in development of the commission. If there are any thoughts about parking rules at Kendrick Park, and then future meetings, and we'll pretty much that will probably take time and a challenge, but I think that all working together, we can do this in our usual amount of time. So, having said that, is there any questions about the agenda or any objection to making the change in order from what was published? Yes, Mr. Tremblay.
I'm just curious, because typically we will approve minutes. We haven't been doing that. Just wondering what's going on with that, if that's on your radar. Sorry.
Yeah, no,
just
I
thought of
did.
that earlier. Sorry.
Yeah, there are no minutes available, so that's not listed on the agenda. I am concerned about the fact that we've only approved one set of minutes since the commission was created, which was at the last meeting, and it was the first meeting that was of minutes. I did discuss this with Ms. Anderson this morning, and she is well aware of the problem, and she also is trying to deal with prioritizing her time, but we did discuss it and are looking to see what we can do to address that problem. So I can't really say anything more.
Thank you.
Then to public comment, I want to make it very clear that in public, when we're asking for public comment, I am not looking for comments from anyone who wants to talk about the West Street crosswalk at Mount Holyoke Drive. That is going to be part of the public meeting. It is a separate section that is solely about that particular topic. So I would appreciate it if anybody who is thinking that they want to make public comment on that subject to please wait until we finish public comment on other topics. But I do want to open it up to public comments on any other matters within the jurisdiction of the commission. Residents are welcome to express their views for 1 to 3 minutes at the discretion of the commission chair based upon the number of people who want to speak. The commission will not engage in a dialogue or comment on a matter raised during the public comment period. So with that said, if there's anybody who would like to offer public comment on a subject other than the sidewalk, please raise your hand. I don't see any hands being raised, so I will duly note that, and we'll go on to the next topic that is on the agenda, which is the West Street crosswalk in Mount Holyoke Drive. Now, let me explain a little bit about process, and then what I was going to do is ask Mr. Mooring to do a little bit of a review of the report that he made at the last meeting about the proposed design and the costs and the questions that he has identified from his role as superintendent of public works. And the process is going to be that we will receive that report, and that will be on the screen as it is being discussed. I assume that you have that presentation available. So seeing the thumbs up, we will have that presentation. Then I will see if from the members of the commission whether there are any further comments that people wish to make at this point in time, or questions that they wish to raise about the presentation, which is, as I said, similar to the presentation at the last meeting. After that, we will go to members of the public who may wish to speak. I am going to ask at that time how many people want to be recognized, but I'm going to try and be a little bit more liberal on time. This is a public meeting, and so I wanted to have a little bit more of an open discussion. The other thing is that as people present, if there are questions that they are asking, and any member of the commission feels able and willing to offer an answer to the question that is being posed, we will do so. And there may be some I will ask for members of the commission if they would like to ask any questions of the person who's making the presentation, to do so, to raise their hand so I can recognize them to do so. That is the difference between a public comment period and a public meeting where you're trying to, we value getting more than just hearing what people are concerned about, but want to have some understanding and dialogue that takes place. And that's why the rules are a little bit different. So if there's no questions from members of the commission, I would like to then ask Mr. Mooring to go ahead and make the presentation.
Okay, I'll bring the picture up. So can everyone see the drawing?
Yes.
All right. So the question was to put a crosswalk across West Street at Mount Holyoke. So the only place really to do it is on the north side of Mount Holyoke and the intersection. So we have off to the left, starting on the left side at West Street, we have to put in a concrete pad and a accessible ramp. Then we cross the road to another concrete pad and accessible ramp. And then we have two choices here. The proposal before you shows us putting a asphalt sidewalk all the way to the first driveway and then just ignoring the fact that it stops at a driveway. The other option is to just bring instead of doing a sidewalk, is bring the sidewalk back to Mount Holyoke and put another concrete ramp at Mount Holyoke, and people would exit onto Mount Holyoke and then travel up Mount Holyoke that way. There is going to be 2 crosswalk signs at the crosswalk. When you put in a crosswalk sign, you also get advanced crosswalk warnings, and then you'll have the standard 6-inch wide painted crosswalk ladder in the road. If we do the full sidewalk, we also have some drainage work we have to do to collect some drainage at 320 West Street and make sure that drainage doesn't puddle in the yard. And that's the basic proposal. If you want to enhance this crosswalk, you could recommend putting RRFBs, the flashing beacons at the crosswalk where you push the button and it flashes. But right now it's just a bare minimum is what we're proposing. And that's the cost estimate is roughly $100,000. It's $95,000. That's without the RRFBs, and the RRFBs run around $24,000 a pair. Councilor Ryan?
Guilford, could you just sort of back of the envelope, give us a sense of what this would cost if we took out the sidewalk extension and just did the 2 pads, the crosswalk? Can you give us a rough idea of what that would be?
It would probably drop into the 40s, into the $40,000 range. If we also do this, the proposal would be to put a stop sign. There's no stop sign at Mount Holyoke right now. It's
Right, that would be nice.
Ms. Tremblay.
Well, I'm a little perplexed how much would the rapid flashing beacons be? Because both I and Chief Ting expressed concern about the lack of those at this intersection, this crosswalk, because it seems super important because people are traveling really fast and not necessarily expecting this crosswalk. And sitting in a crosswalk doesn't necessarily mean that people will stop.
So right now we're paying $24,000 a pair.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Ian, I can't pronounce your last name.
Oh, that's right. It's Rotowalt. Yeah,
Rotowalt.
when I mentioned to the Commission for Persons with Disabilities that this would be subject to conversation, I was urged to recommend with the full force of the commission that rapid flashing beacons be installed for safety purposes.
Counselor McLeod.
McLeod, thank you,
McLeod.
Clifford. So in this and with other proposals that come before or are apt to come before the commission, the primary concern for me is the safety element. That is to say, does the work enhance safety and are there additional things that can be done? At our last meeting on this topic, there was some conversation that indicated it was uncertain to the extent that a crosswalk makes things safer in and of themselves. And I assume that's the part of the thought process behind Kim's comment regarding the rapid flashings. Um, I'm I don't have information or statistics regarding, the risk or what risks exists regarding installing a sidewalk on its own. Uh, my gut says crosswalk, good idea. I understand the motivation of the residents. I likely would have similar uh, thoughts were it a street that I lived or an area that I lived on. And this is not the only one we're going to be receiving. There are others of these. So I think it's in our interest over the long term to um, have a good understanding of what the best safe option is for any given sidewalk, any given crosswalk. Uh, are the rapid flashing lights that are being referred to, the pair that would cost 24,000, are those similar to the Southeast Street speed indicators? In other words, what's the nature of that flashing? And I would like to hear or be aware of the recommendations of the folks who have information, such as Chief of Police, on the safety aspects. Thank you.
So just briefly, the things we would look at, whether you want to do an enhanced crosswalk or just a regular crosswalk here, what you see is just the regular crosswalk with the signage, no lights. We look at the sight distances drivers have, and there's a good sight distance along this road. There's plenty of time to see and react. And then we look to see if there's any other circumstances like speed. Speed might be the one thing that might push you to want to put the lights in here. This is it's a 40 miles, 35-mile-an-hour zone, I think. Might be 40. But we do have a set of flashing lights at the crosswalk that was put in at Crocker Farm, which is just up the street here to the north. And then again, we have these are the same lights we have around the roundabout at Pomeroy and 116. Those are rapid flashing beacons there that you push and they light up. Ms. Tremblay.
Yeah, because this street has, previous to this, people are traveling maybe at 50 miles an hour, right? Isn't that the speed limit further
That's the speed
south?
limit. That's the speed limit south of the
Yeah,
Pomeroy
but
intersection.
right, which is close to this, and people continue to go at that speed. That's my concern.
Mr. Steinberg?
Yeah, after we hear from Mr. Bagg, I suggest that we go forward with the discussion because we are going to have to come back and discuss some major issues that are pending after we're completed with all of the discussion with members of the public who wish to speak, and they may speak on this issue in and of itself. I think that the issues that I've generally identified is whether we should recommend a crosswalk period, whether to include the RRFB option and the length of the sidewalk extension on the Mount Holyoke Drive side, whether it just immediately people exit to the street before, or whether we install the sidewalk so that people enter the street a little bit later, since people are going to have to be walking on the street anyway, but it's just a question of whether it's preferable to have that little bit of extension. So I guess I said we should recognize Mr. Bagg, but beyond that, I would urge us to go on and come back to this issue when we have heard from everybody and we're at a point where we need to decide whether to make a decision today.
Mr. Bagg?
Thank you. Just a question, I guess, about the cost estimate. Guilford, you did a good job, but if we take out the sidewalk extension, you kind of gave a number that it would get reduced by 40-ish, I think you said. But my question was, would that include the rapid flashing beacons, or would you go down to 40 and then add the 24,000 back for the pair of beacons? I just wonder if you could clarify that.
You drop down to 40, and then you'd have to add the 24,000 back
Okay,
in. So
perfect.
it's
All right.
64,
Yep.
6470.
Okay, thanks. I just wanted to clarify that.
Councilor McLeod?
Thank you. Just rapid flashing beacons are the primary topic of discussion here, it seems. And can someone indicate how close to the sidewalk, to the crosswalk they are placed? And is my assumption correct that they do have a significant impact on safety? Thank you.
So if you look at the drawing, they'll be placed in the grass belt in this area where my arrow is right now. If you can see the arrow, the cursor,
Mm-hmm.
that'll be one will be placed there, and then one will be placed back in this corner here.
Okay.
So
I assume that's
they're
the
in the front.
recommended. And do they, is there any general information that folks might have in terms of the impact on safety? I would assume it would be significant.
They improve safety in most instances, but like most signs, after a while people get numb to them. So for people who are new to the area, they would respond almost all the time. But it does, people who travel often through there would kind of stop to forget about them every once in a while. That's the most of the data. Do we
Thank
want to
you.
go to Ms. Tremblay? You're muted.
Thank you. Do you mean you pointed, think you point, do you mean they're on the opposite side of the sidewalk as the cars travel? I mean, the opposite side of the crosswalk, or do you mean they're on the closer part of the sidewalk as cars travel?
They're on the opposite side.
Okay.
So you see
Oh, really? Oh,
you would
that's
see
cool.
as you approach the crosswalk,
Yeah.
you should see the crosswalk. If
Oh.
someone's standing there, you see someone standing there, and then you should see the sign.
Oh, okay, cool. Thank
That's
you.
how they should be placed.
It's a little not intuitive to me, but yes, thank you.
Plus, there's this little curve here. There's no place really to put it in this curve, so that gives you the most area. Councilor Ryan?
I can't really answer Sam's question, but so maybe I shouldn't say anything, but in my experience, and others can speak to it as a driver, with rapid flashing beacons, wherever I see them in any part of the community, what it signals to me is that there's a human being who intends or is about to enter into the crosswalk. Without them, when you come up to a crosswalk, you may not see the human being, or they may be only, you don't know what they're going to do. So I don't know what statistics are out there. Maybe there are some. I would hope that they would show that there's some improvement. But I think from the point of view of just design and from the point of view of trying to make at least modest changes to the streetscape, these are an improvement. And in this particular place, where traffic does move quickly and it's a long straightaway, it adds the further element of alerting a driver that a person is about to or intends to cross and they need to slow down.
Do we want to hear from the public right now? There's one person with their hand up.
I think the question is, Mr. Cloud, Councilman Cloud, whether what you're going to say you need to ask now, or whether you think that it can wait until we have the discussion after hearing from the public.
Either or. Quick question. Did I hear correctly that the flashing beacons are initiated by a pedestrian pushing a button? That's the inference from Councilor Ryan's comment.
That's correct. The ones we purchase are pedestrian activated. If you go to UMass, you can actually do it with your body by just jumping in a circle close to the light and then jumping back. And so it comes on, you jump back, it turns off, you jump on, it turns. It's kind of a cool game, but we don't use those. You have to push a button in the town.
Thank you very much.
And I just would point out that there are many places in town. You've cited some along West Street. Pine Street is another example. There are lots of places where we have such systems in place and they are push button, and you see the flashing if you've experienced in driving past any of them, and pedestrians have activated them to indicate to drivers their presence. So with that, we want to continue with anything else you're going to present.
I'm ready for the public comment.
Okay, so then let me go back to the participant list, and we have three people who have asked to be recognized, and because he is the person who first introduced this topic to the commission, I'm going to call on Mr. Matthew Mattingly first. So if you could bring him into the meeting and allow him to speak, please do so.
Hello, thank you for recognizing me. My opinion on this, I think, starts with a question, which is there a significant safety or accessibility advantage to a long sidewalk versus a short one? If there is a significant advantage, we should probably hold out for that. Otherwise, I think that the small pad would be adequate. What do you think about that?
So technically there's a rule, it's an ADA rule that we're supposed to connect to an accessible path. But in this case, there's no real accessible path on the other side. So you have to draw a line where you end your accessibility. So do you end it close or do you take it farther down? It would be up to the committee to say, we're willing to accept the short drop back into the road, or we think we should have a long sidewalk to give people more space. So technically you're kind of breaking the rule by doing either one. So you just have to choose which one you think is the least of the two evils.
One of the neighbors brought up the concern that having it right next to the corner there could be a hazard because, of course, people are turning into the road and it's just sort of more of a congested area. So I wanted to, raise that possibility.
Well, that was the reason for the stop sign and the stop farther back.
Good. Yeah, I really was happy to see the stop sign in there because that's been a concern for a long time too. And as far as the flashing beacons go, I think that the flashing beacons are essential. I think anything that we can do to alert the drivers coming either direction, but especially from the south, where there's a hill and a bend in the road and some foliage, they really don't get a lot of advance warning that they're going to be approaching a pedestrian area. So anything we can do to make it more visible, I think, is essential.
Okay. If, is there anything else? Otherwise, we will recognize have Simon Rain brought into the meeting.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Excellent, thank you. So my name is Simon Rain. I'm a 15-year resident of the neighborhood, and I'm also senior planner and university landscape architect at UMass, so I have a bit of experience with this kind of thing. Thank you to everyone involved in this. I think this is great. This is pretty much drawn exactly how I would do it if it were me designing this at UMass. I think the beacons would be an added bonus, but I would do it without them if we couldn't afford it. I'm not sure that we need the sidewalk going all the way to the driveway, but I would take it to at least just before that drain, so you didn't have to do the drain. That area always floods. But I do think an extended portion of sidewalk would be useful because for one reason, all the kids wait for the school buses there, and it would give them an extra place to stand versus in the road. So I think that's a good idea, just to bring it back a bit. The one thing I did want to comment on was the speed limit. So the speed limit actually changes to 40 miles an hour just before you get to Mount Holyoke Drive if you're going north. And from north coming south, it's already at 40 miles an hour. And it's the only zone that's 40 miles an hour. And it includes the school. So I've never quite understood why it is 40 miles an hour in that zone anyway. I would strongly recommend to reduce that if we're going to put this crosswalk in, because, you know, like people are saying, cars do go quite quickly. You know, I've been taking my life into into my own hands for years, trying to get to the bus stop and back, especially in the dark. And my kids have now been doing it. My kids are 14-year-old now. They've been doing that on their own, crossing the street for the last 2 or 3 years, going to the bus stop, and we kind of get nervous. We let them do it, but it is nerve-wracking. So anyway, I think this is great process, and thank you to everyone, especially Matthew. And yes, thank you.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate your comments. The one thing that I would want to add, and Superintendent Mooring might also comment on this, is that we have to treat the speed limit as a separate issue because the whole process that the State Department of Transportation requires, as well as state statutes that DOT is implementing, have a rather complex process for speed limit consideration. And we as a commission have not had a speed limit question yet arise. So it really would, from my knowledge of the subject, require that we treat it as a separate issue. And, you know, if you wanted to follow this up, regardless of what happens today, with a separate request, you certainly may do so. But I would think that it has to be separate. Mr. Mooring, is there anything you want to add, or?
No, you didn't. You covered it.
Okay. Then let's bring in Bruce Stedman. Bruce, you'll have to unmute when you get into the room. Okay.
It's actually Castle O'Neill. I'm here next to Bruce.
And I have something also to say. So there's two of us.
Okay.
Castle, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, we are the first house on Mount Holyoke Drive, and I can't say how much a stop sign would add to the general safety of this road and intersection. Especially delivery people just zoom right through there. I also really want to advocate for the flashing lights, because once it's dark at 4:30 in the winter, this area, because there's a bus stop right here and we have a lot of student rentals and young people rentals, this area appeals to people who don't have cars because they can easily get on the bus. And so we've got lots of people coming into the late hours as long as the buses run. And I just think if the lights aren't there, nobody is going to see people standing there trying to cross the road at night.
Okay, my turn?
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to speak with my Town of Amherst culvert and stormwater project hat on. Anything you can do to keep the improvements about stormwater that you've shown there, or even make them more enhanced, would be good. Because as Castle said, we live right next door, and there is no question that that yard floods all the time. So it really needs some help. That's it. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Any follow-up from anyone, Mr. Morgan, or anyone else? And if not, should bring, I guess, Mr. Penniman is the next in line.
Thank you. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay, great. My name's Bruce Penniman. I live at 50 South Mount Holyoke Drive. And I wanted to express strong support for this crosswalk, including the flashing lights. My experience with crossing Route 116 there were for the years that I was working at UMass. I often used that bus. And as you know, the bus stop is south of Cayman Circle. I think besides adding to the safety of pedestrians crossing the street, that is a scary spot. I've usually run across it because the cars coming from the south go very fast there, and it is a little bit hard to see them. But I think it would also provide a clear place for the pedestrians to know where to cross, because right now, since there is no indication, many cross right from the bus stop right over to Mount Holyoke Drive, which is the least visible place along there. So having the crosswalk as a designated spot for that would be wonderful. In my opinion, the extended sidewalk to the driveway is less of an urgency than the lights. So if it were a trade-off in terms of spending the money, I would definitely suggest spending it on the flashing lights, because those, in my experience as a driver, those are very effective. I notice them at Amherst College and at UMass and lots of other places all the time. So thank you very much. We really appreciate all the work you're putting into this.
Okay, well, thank you. I think we have one more person, Krista Klein is has to be recognized.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yes, thank you very much for recognizing me. And I also want to say how much I agree or support this effort in trying to get the crosswalk installed. I will agree with the sidewalk issue. I think having a little bit more of a sidewalk there, but maybe not all the way down to the driveway, would be important for the reasons already mentioned. And the flashing lights, I think, are very important. And I just, because Mr. McLeod had asked about safety and wanted some data. And I just did a quick little Google search and found some information from the U.S. Department of Transportation that does indicate that the rapid flashers do reduce crashes and increase pedestrian safety, especially when they're in an area with 40 miles an hour or less speed limits, which this area is, and also reiterating the fact that there aren't great sightlines for cars coming from the south, pedestrians looking to the south because of foliage and as already said. So I think the flashers would be more important than having that extended sidewalk as well. And appreciate the stop sign. I think that's very important. I think that covers it.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Is there anything else? Then we'll stop, though, again, this is a public meeting. This is not following, again, public comment rules, so that I will recognize people who wish to speak later if somebody raises their hand. I assume that it's going to be relevant to discussion. I want to start with one question for Superintendent Mooring. Could you confirm the location of where we were talking about for the stop sign addition that you're proposing?
The stop sign is this, is it right here? Where my cursor is, and then the stop bar.
So it's for people who are coming out of Mount Holyoke Drive before they get to West Street.
Correct.
Okay. So with that, I want to make one comment about general procedure that we're under, and then I'm going to start recognizing people from the commission again as we go forward. The requirement of the town council policy that was passed when the Transportation and Parking Commission was created is very clear that for the things that are being, the installation of a crosswalk as an example, for that type of a change, the final decision belongs to the town council. The town council has asked that the Transportation Parking Commission study the issue, hold a public meeting, not a hearing, public meeting, and which is what today's meeting was about, and then make a decision as to what recommendation, if any, it wishes to make to the council. At that point, it's anticipated that the council would take the matter up based upon the Transportation Parking Commission having acted as the committee reporting to the council and making a recommendation. It is not anticipated that it is going to be referred to a council committee. I don't think that we got to the point of saying that it's impossible for the council to decide to do so, but it's not anticipated because the purpose of the commission is to supplant that need. So with that statement, I'm going to start with council discussion, but I'm going to call actually on Councilor Ryan, because Councilor Ryan and I were the two councilors last year who were involved with the development of the policies that I just described. And if you have anything you want to add to what I said, I wanted to give you that opportunity, but I know you may have other things you want to say. And if so, the floor is yours.
Andy, I think you've pretty much covered it. I guess the only thing I would add is, and I think some of the folks who are in the audience are aware of this, a lot of this in the end comes down to funding. One of the reasons I was thinking about perhaps eliminating the extended sidewalk was to reduce the overall cost, to make this perhaps more doable in the short term. But my question here is really for Guilford, because listening to the conversation, and that's a good example of why this kind of format is very helpful. I immediately think of stormwater and of drainage, which in my sort of cheaper version of things would be eliminated. So Guilford, how much of a problem is it here? We hear that the yard floods. Does the street flood? Is this an opportunity that you don't always get to address a stormwater issue and a water retention issue? And so it might make sense, though it would cost more to extend the sidewalk at least not just up to, but perhaps to the point or just beyond, so the stormwater work gets done. Your thoughts on that?
So we proposed the storm drain improvement because if we run the sidewalk all the way to the driveway, we make the flooding situation worse. So that was to alleviate our impact on the already flooded yard. It wasn't really totally alleviate their flooding, but to alleviate what we were making worse.
So if we didn't go very far with the sidewalk, it wouldn't have that kind of impact on the yard. Is that the thought?
Yes, they would still be flooded, but we wouldn't make it worse.
We wouldn't be making it worse. Okay. Thank you.
Ms. Tremblay?
Sorry, I have two comments. The first involves what you just said, which was that we would recommend or not recommend or recommend something about this project, which I think is very worthy to the council. I thought that we were prioritizing projects. And I see nowhere in any of this discussion a prioritization. That is my first comment. And I thought that really was what we were doing because there are lots of projects like this one which are very worthy. And at some level, I thought the purpose of our committee was to prioritize. And I will just leave that there because I do think this is a very worthy project. But the tough decision because of the budgeting problems includes prioritization. Secondly, I was just curious if anyone spoke with the residents or whoever owns 320 West Street, which seems to be the most impacted by this project. I don't even know who those individuals are. Does anyone know?
Yeah, they're in the meeting and they spoke earlier.
Oh, okay.
But we, in this phase of the project, we don't typically talk to the residents. If we decide to move forward, then we would talk to them, and we might even actually come up with some more things we could add to it. But we don't usually talk to the residents at this stage.
Yeah, I was just wondering because it seems to, if this were happening on my walkway or my driveway or right in front of my house, I guess I would feel more connected to this project. Thank you.
Peg?
Thanks. From a planning perspective, I think this is a good project. I think it's worth pursuing and putting on a list. We're recommending to council. However, the process is supposed to unfold. I do want to say that I think going with the actual need of increasing pedestrian safety, creating the crosswalk with the rapid flashing beacons should be the goal and the target, not the add-ons and extending the sidewalk and doing drainage. They didn't approach this as a drainage improvement project. This was approached as a safety, pedestrian safety project. So I would like to emphasize the importance of that because by crunching the numbers real quick, the preliminary estimate versus cutting out the sidewalk, if we would expect to get more of these over time, we could do two. In theory, we could do two of these similar projects for the price of this one if we include the sidewalk extension all the way to the driveway and the drainage improvements. And I think we're not being efficient with limited funds, as was said. So I would move. I like the idea of moving forward with a discussion about the crosswalk with the beacons, and then not pursue the sidewalk and the drainage. I think as we move forward with other requests, I think we're going to have to look for compromises with limited funds. That's my planning perspective.
I'm going to recognize Ms. Tremblay, and then I'm going to speak as if I had raised my hand. Ms. Tremblay.
Thank you. Well, you know, the problem is, I agree, you know, if this were only transportation and not the whole town, I would agree with you, Jeff. However, like we have to think about every project holistically, like all of it and how it impacts our whole town. And that's, you know, ultimately that becomes a priority too. You know, what if this drainage thing specifically really impacted, you know, this section of town? Of course, it would end up also being a priority. So I feel like, you know, we have to think about all of these projects holistically because we live in a town where everything is connected.
Yeah, I guess why I had said that I would treat it as if I raised my hand at this point, and I think that we have not actually had a good discussion about sidewalks being a new entity, and though I do agree that sidewalks are important, um, sidewalks are a major issue because there's a lot of streets that don't have sidewalks, and the question then comes is to whether a residential neighborhood street that is the entryway um, a number of houses, but is not a through street, is the same as a thoroughfare, and where there's a lot of traffic that goes on, which is what West Street is. And so I would distinguish between the two when we have a discussion of this topic, which I don't think is really what today's discussion is about. And the example that I'm going to give is on North Pleasant Street. There's been this discussion that has been going on for as long as I was on the council, which was 3 terms worth before my last term expired. We've, I think, during that entire time, have been talking about North Pleasant Street being an area where there's a lot of bicycles and a lot of pedestrians, and the need for sidewalk because of the speed. And I think that when we, as a commission, talk about it, we need to start a discussion that involves making that distinction. And it would, to me, that seems to be an important part of what we have. And I think the last thing that I'll go to say is more as the chair again, and then go back to people who've raised their hands. When we if the council, if we make a recommendation to do something, and then the council votes to do whatever we recommend, it is still subject to financing, and there will be a delay until it gets worked into the capital improvement plan and is worked out between the Department of Public Works and the town manager as to where this fits in with that plan. But we are in a series of steps, and something doesn't get to that stage of the funding issue until we reach the point where the council has actually voted to adopt a recommendation of this commission. So, Councilor McLeod.
Thank you, Andy, and others. So The drawing is very informative. The discussion is very informative. Hearing the comments from committee members and the residents is helpful. Again, we're apt to get many. We have a number of requests for crosswalks. It's apt to be a ongoing issue, and and I think your idea, Andy, of bringing this particular project to discussion has been informative to our committee as a whole. And I'd just like to reiterate a prior comment I made, which I think it's in our interest to have a general idea of the best way to do a crosswalk, all things being equal, and perhaps it would be with the rapid flashing beacons. But this is going to likely repeat itself as we go forward, sidewalk aside. And the other comment I wanted to make is I believe that Kim makes a good point in terms of seeking to prioritize, because there are going to be quite a number of projects, and how we decide which ones to recommend first. I recognize that the final decision is apt to be will be with the council and funding, but I think both, I just think it's a valid discussion to have. But I think this is very informative, and in conclusion, I'm apt to be in favor of most any safety related crosswalk issue, including the flashing beacons, because as somebody who raised kids in different towns and someone who had a mom who had macular degeneration and walked a lot, I think that everything we can do to enhance pedestrian and general traffic safety is a worthwhile goal. Thank you.
Superintendent Moore.
Councilor Ryan's first, please.
Okay, Councilor Ryan.
So, one quick thought, maybe premature, but I think I'm hearing enough that I feel I'm able to make, at least get to the point of perhaps proposing a recommendation for this project. I don't feel the need for further information. That's just me speaking. I also would like, more importantly, perhaps, to come back to the question of process. And again, I'd like to urge my colleagues to take a good look at the town council policy regarding the control of the public way, and remind them that in this particular case, the town council is delegated, and I'm now reading the document, to the Transportation and Parking Commission, the authority to review and authorize permanent changes, including the ones we're talking about, provided, however, that the town manager shall retain authority with respect to implementation. So, Andy, I do not believe that this actually goes to the town council. This now, any recommendation we make is a recommendation to the manager about how to proceed with this particular project. And it is then his decision, based on budgeting and other factors, to decide whether to carry it out. But my reading of this is pretty clear that the council actually doesn't vote on this. This simply is now, we have the authority to review and to make a recommendation. And that's what we hopefully will do at some point, if not today, at some point. But the manager has the final say as to when and what priority it gets. I think the prioritization question is a difficult one. I would again point out there's nothing in any of the documents that govern us that says anything about our ability or power to prioritize. I don't believe this body has the authority to say this should be done for, and we can say whatever we want, and we don't have the authority to say this should be done first, second, or third. What we can do is recommend something be done and give our reasoning why. And I think at that point, it goes to the manager, at least in this kind of case.
Councilor Ryan, I can't get to my copy of the policy as I chair the meeting.
I have it open in front of me. Yeah.
I'm going to come back to that, but I actually had looked at the policy carefully when I before I made that statement. I just don't have it in front of me right now to be able to do that. What I would suggest is that we, since that's not maybe essential to the issue, that when we, during the period of time when we're talking about the next steps to develop the commission, that I turn the meeting at that point over to the vice chair, which will enable me to look up the policy and see if we can get that clarified. I don't think that we need to do that before we get to that point in the meeting. So, Superintendent Mooring.
Wish to make a motion.
Well, Councilor Ryan, have you written a
If
motion?
Guilford's making a motion, I'm all eager to hear what it is.
I know I have to make a motion first, and then I can talk about it. That's why I didn't start talking. So I move that we accept this proposed crosswalk design with the following changes: that we shorten the sidewalk to an appropriate length, and that we install rapid rectangular flashing beacons instead of the plain signs.
Second to that motion?
I'm willing to second it if we could specify, and maybe we can't at this point, that the extension be short of the drainage element so that it does not, but maybe that's what Guilford intends anyway, but
Yeah.
otherwise.
I do.
So if we could specify, or maybe we don't need to at this point, but what the length or approximate length would be of the extension, I would second it.
I'm willing to amend it to say that the sidewalk length will be no longer than 20 feet from the stop bar.
Is that acceptable to the second?
That is acceptable to me. Thank you.
Okay, so there's been a motion that's made and seconded, and so back to Mr. Tremblay.
Well, can I speak to my motion?
Yes, you may. I'm sorry.
So I agree with Ms. Tremblay that there needs to be a prioritization, but we don't have anything to prioritize yet because we haven't accepted any projects to be prioritized. So if we accept this, and whether it gets moved to the council for approval or whether we get to approve it, this gets us started along the path, is what I'm saying. I will say that there is no leftover funds in this year for doing this. So this would be something that's done next construction year at the earliest because of the funding issue. But I would just move it on so we can move on with this.
Okay. Ms. Tremblay?
Sorry, I just have one question, Guilford. Will there be like a warning like there was for the crosswalk sign? Will there be like a sign saying that there's a crosswalk, even if we have the rapid flashing beacons? I don't know if that's standard or what. Thank you.
It's always standard to have a crosswalk ahead sign, whether you have the rapid rectangular flashing beacons or whether you have the standard signs. There's a requirement to have the warning signs.
Okay, so there's a motion that's on the floor. It has been made and seconded. We have the other issue that we'll come back to a little bit later in the meeting as to clarifying what the council's role is afterwards. But I know of no reason why we shouldn't just proceed with the motion on the floor. Is there any additional request for discussion amongst the commission members? Seeing none, I will go alphabetically again, just to those present. Mr. Bagg?
Yes.
And Councilor McLeod?
Aye.
Superintendent Mooring?
Yes.
Councilor Ryan?
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Rudewalt.
Aye.
Okay, apologize that I didn't get to you in the correct order. So we, Councilor Ryan,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. And the other member present is Ms. Tremblay.
Yes, thank you.
So it's by a vote of 7-0, with 2 members absent, I believe, and the motion carries. So I want to thank members of the public for having participated in the required public meeting. And I want to thank you, Superintendent Mooring, for your presentation and your hard work in doing the analysis that got us here, and all members of the commission. So with that said, the next agenda item is the next steps to develop the commission. We, Ms. Tremblay and I had discussed what the agenda consists of for that, and it really is follow-up work that she has been the leader of as the chair of the subcommittee. So I will be calling on her. Councilor Ryan, you had your hand up. Do you have a question?
What happened to item 5? The Amethyst Brook? Is that, we just don't have anything on that, or are we skipping it? Or is we?
Yeah, well, let's come back to that in a minute.
Okay.
Let's
Just
go
wondering.
ahead so that I can see if I can find that answer. And because is that okay with you, Ms. Tremblay? You want to take over
Yes,
as
certainly.
the chair for a moment? I will be on the screen, but I'm going to be looking for documents right now.
Okay, yes, as am I. But I would like to update everyone. So we have been meeting with Kathy and Sam, who is the media relations person. And the questions include so what I would like to propose to each of you, our committee members, is to try out the link for the TPC. I can resend that to you. I started sending it to very trusted members of my household to try out because as with any, website, there are, when you're constructing it, there are some unanticipated glitches that might make it a little more complicated. And what we really want is for an interface that is very straightforward. Like I would propose, I don't know how many of you have used SeeClickFix, but that is me. I've used it. Members of my house have you used it, Ian? Have you tried SeeClickFix? It's like you see a pothole, you see something broken in town, and you like report it. And it's what's great about it is that like, it's not that difficult to like type in. You do have, if you want to hear a like response, like a big time response, you end up like signing in, which is like use your email and a password. And have you used it, Jeff? Have you ever tried this? SeeClickFix? Yeah. Anyway, it's my aspiration for the town because it's something I've used many times before. And so I started using it and I saw some things and I was like, oh, wait, this isn't quite exactly, this doesn't make exact sense to me. So I think I would like it very much if we could all kind of try it out. And if there are specific issues, like we should all try, we've divided up all of our concerns into different types of concerns, parking, sidewalks, what's the other one? The other big one is closing off things, which are streets, closing off streets or sidewalks for work that has to be done or something like that. It would be great if we could all try this out before it goes live. So that's what Sam is concerned with, publicizing and I would have liked for this to go live previously, but when we all started typing it in and there were certain things I was like, oh, we need to fix this before we give it to someone. And I'm just thinking about, people who might be a little less tech savvy. I mean, I'm on my computer all day long doing, all kinds of things, and I can do workarounds all the time, but I'm worried about our constituents here in town who might not be able to do those kinds, have that kind of interface. So it would be great. And I'll send the link to all of you. You can test it out. It's the test link before it goes live. But Sam, who is the media person, would really like to promote this site on the town site. So I think that would be great. And it would probably give us a big bump in the number of, concerns that come in, but that's what we want. We want to get them in. So, yeah, that's where we're at with our final kind of meeting. I think those are all the concerns. Yes, George.
Sam can't promote.
Counselor Ryan.
That's all right. Sam can't promote until we resolve the sort of the beta version. I
Well,
understand. Yeah.
I would prefer that because I really want this to be,
Right.
yeah.
It makes no sense. I think I agree that we need to, it sounds like we should look at the beta version, all of us, and if we have any particular concerns, and then that means it probably won't go live until sometime in September, which is unfortunate, but anyway, but once it's done, then Sam can promote it.
Sorry, I have never dealt with, doing something like a fill-in form on a website before, and I didn't realize all the things that
No, it's complicated.
could
Yeah,
go
there's
wrong.
a lot of bells and
I
whistles.
apologize. It's
No.
I take this all on myself.
Mhm.
That's me. Yeah. Sam, Counselor McLeod.
Sam is fine, and thank you. Is Kim okay to
Yes.
call you? Okay. Thank you, Kim, for your work and for your uh, attention to issues that arise. The question that comes in my mind is what time frame do we want to beta test, or do we want to have all the members or those members who wish to participate and do this over the next week, the next 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Is there a deadline? And
Well, there is no deadline, but at least entry into it is super simple. What I would like is for all of us to kind of like try all different kinds of requests and try to upload, so we have this great thing where we can upload images and write concerns, and it's fabulous, but I would like to make sure that everyone can actually, efficiently do these things so that it's efficient for everyone, because we want people to be able to use it easily, right?
it's a great idea. So we should take it from multiple times. There's no issue. It's not live other than the beta test, and we can take it from beginning.
Yeah.
We can go from beginning all the way to conclusion and see how it works. And sometimes when I'm doing this in other responsibilities or other hats that I wear, I tell people to try and break it. Okay?
Yeah.
Try and break it. And that way we will find out if there's something that's a glitch or not. And I don't mean to just like pound it with a million viruses coming in, but hey, what if we do this? And what limitations are there on field size, whatever. So I think it's a great idea, Kim. Thank you.
Yes. And if you could read the associated text as well to make sure that it makes sense to you, because there are certain things that might, just because of it's a fill-in form that you have to use to like make this site. Sometimes things get added that shouldn't be there or whatever. Please just take screenshots, record it, and let us know. Thank you. Ian.
this may have already been answered by sort of what the discussion just now, but should we take into consideration things that might not even be what we've decided are the committee's purview? Like, say we're random Joe Schmo on the street and we think this is to be fixed. Should we just take a photo of that and put it in? Not wearing our hats as committee members.
I think anything that is might be considered an impediment would
Okay.
be useful.
Okay, cool.
Thank you, Ian. Councilor Ryan?
Do we send this to you? Do we hold it until the next meeting? What do you suggest?
No, I send it to me and I'll collate these and send them on to Kathy, who is really ultimately and responsible for the website, like organizing it. Thank you.
So it's possible that it could go live before we meet again? Is that
Yes,
that's a possibility?
yes,
Okay.
yes. As long as we vet it, I just
Okay,
want
all right.
to vet the out of it because I saw some things that I didn't anticipate. And I thought, oh, this is weird and it doesn't really make sense to me, but I'm savvy. I can work around this. And I want someone not to have to be savvy. No?
So Kim, if when we go through the form in its current iteration and submit, am I hearing correctly that it will not go to anyone?
It will
Or
go
is
to
it
it'll go
usable for beta testing, simply not live to the public? Because if that's the case, it
No,
makes sense. Go
it
ahead.
just goes to Kathy right
Okay.
now.
But are you suggesting that we should go through the process and send submittals to Kathy and
Yeah,
then
she's fine with that.
email,
Yeah.
send the form submittals, but to email you items that we find in the forms?
Yeah,
Both.
if there are
Okay.
any like concerns, because for example, because of the site that we're using, and I'm for civic.gov, I think that's what it is. The current commission or whatever that's using it is the permits and inspections, for example. And so
OpenGov.
yeah. And so what it when you first sign in, because you have to sign in, you have to put an email and you have to make a password.
Mhm.
And when you do that, you get into a site that says, "Oh, you're accepted," and it says permits and inspections, which is weird and what we didn't expect. But when you click on it, it goes right to the TPC site, for example. So
it is live.
No, it's not.
Okay.
I
Okay.
mean, yes, you are live. You are in the sense that you are signing up to whatever the site, the open.gov site is, but it's not live in the sense that anyone can see that URL yet.
Okay.
See,
So you'll email a URL to us.
I will email you that. I'm sorry.
Sorry,
if I
everybody,
did not
for
make
being
that
pedantic.
clear. Yes, no, right. Yes. So you are signing up. So you should use your actual email that you might use for the TPC site, but it is not, it's just going to Kathy and it ends there. Yep. Jeff.
Thank you. Two questions, and I'm sorry if you covered this, I might have missed it, but
Yeah.
I'm on SeeClickFix, which exists today.
Yes.
For the town of Amherst, and you don't need to like log in or sign in or anything. So we're creating a separate like portal. And is it going to be clear somehow that there will be like certain things that are reportable here versus at SeeClickFix? Like, did you guys talk about that?
Yes. And that's on the landing page before you sign up for the site. Before the site, it says, here's what we do, and here's what SeeClickFix does.
Okay. And then did you guys talk about the need to submit an email and get a password? Like that's required for this version versus because SeeClickFix you can go right.
It's not required for SeeClickFix, but I think anyone who uses SeeClickFix more than once. So Jeff, I've used SeeClickFix in the past, and I recently like wanted to test this out because of this website thing. And I realized I didn't know what password or what I used. So I had signed up for it before. And then I went on and it recognized me as a completely new person. And then I realized, oh yeah, as a completely new person, you can sign up for it. You can use it, but you don't get all the functionality of the SeeClickFix. Like you don't get emails telling you that like, oh, someone else in your area has also had these same kind of issues and you might be interested in this. And and as far as I know, most people who use SeeClickFix actually use that functionality where they sign in. Again, it's a simple password and email, valid email and password. That's all it
Okay.
is.
Okay. That's helpful. Thanks.
Thank you. Andy.
Yeah, I think there are a couple things. One is that the software base on which this is built is different from the SeeClickFix. SeeClickFix is actually its own program, and we call it Amherst Connect that connects into what is known as SeeClickFix. And this one is built on Civic Plus, which is the program that is used a lot in Mr. Bagg's department, planning and inspections in particular, which is why it has that extra step that seems out of place because it is set up the way it is because that's what it was built on, that piece of software. And so I just wanted to point that out. The other thing was that the SAM that was being referred to, just to be clear about it, is Samantha Giffen, who is the communication manager for the town. So it's not, in fact, referring to Councilor McLeod.
Correct. Yes, thank you, Andy. And there was one more thing which I am totally forgetting about that I wanted to, maybe it will come up to me in the near future. And I apologize, but I think for now, this is the end of my.
Okay. So there was three other things, and I'll just be real quick with them because I want to keep moving with this meeting. Once we have made this live, which is a matter of our being satisfied with the portal as it has been set up, and then Ms. Giffen having taken the steps to publicize the existence of the portal. And we really wanted to get this moving because I want to make the public at large more aware of this commission existing. And the portal was sort of an intricate part of all of that. But once that happens, that is what she will do. The other thing is that Ms. Anderson is going to go back to all of the people who we haven't already contacted and taken up their issues that are that have submitted various requests by email, some to the council, some direct. There have been various ways that they have reached us, but we have a library of all of those requests, and the plan is that Kathy Anderson is going to ask those people to resubmit using the portal and offering whatever assistance is needed, because we don't want to make it hard for them, but that way we can get everything into the portal. The other two things we talked about is that once we start receiving from the public portal requests, that I would be notified on a weekly basis as chair, whoever is chair. Shouldn't be an I, because we're trying to establish procedures for going forward. and that they will be shared on a monthly basis with the entire membership of the commission, and that the whoever's chair at the time will propose an order for consideration of requests, and that will, of course, indicate future agendas. It will be presented to the entire commission, and so is a proposal that will have a place on the agenda, because it comes into then saying that this is something we're moving forward to the top of the list to place on a specific future agenda to start the process rolling. And so that was the process that we talked about, which then makes the entire, all of you aware, and all members of the commission, whoever it may be at the time, aware of the fact that there has been a request that has been made by the public, that will happen on a monthly basis, and that the decision to take up a particular issue will be shared generally. So those are the other things we talked about, Ms. Tremblay. So is there any questions on that? Because I think I have the answer to the question that I said I would look up. And what I would propose I see your hand up, Councilor Cloud. What we will do after I make that brief report is that we then would go and ask for a report from Superintendent Mooring about the initial discussions having to do with the Amethyst Brook School. So that's the order in which we're proceeding. Councilor McLeod, you had your hand up and you took it down. Do you want to speak?
Yeah, thank you, Andy. You had mentioned if there are any questions on what you had just indicated. If I heard correctly, and it's good to know that there'll be applications shared with the committees, I think it'd be worthwhile if committee members have access to review ones that are existing. There may be 50 that get submitted. It's not the same, but on other committees I've been on, CPA as an example, you could see all the different applications. It can be helpful via, not just these are the ones, but to actually, read the content of them. But what popped in my mind as you were talking about it was the prioritization. I understand the chair sets the agendas and brings whatever topics are to be discussed to the committee. I'm not sure if we as a committee have talked about if there are certain types of projects that we want to look at first or later. And there may or may not be different thoughts on that. For me, safety and major projects, of course. But is that something we expect to discuss at all at any point in time?
I would, excuse me, I would expect that we would discuss that at the time a proposal is being made.
Yeah.
So that if I, in the future, were to say, the next one I would like to take up is crosswalk over West Street at Mount Holyoke. Why that was chosen, what the factors were in the document that was shared from the Transportation Advisory Committee by Ms. Tremblay to the subcommittee, and other factors that we've discussed in the committee, and that I would like to make sure that at least during my time as chair that I set the precedent of not just saying I would like to put West Street on, but to explain why I would like to put West Street on. I will admit that the reason I proposed West Street is because of the number of people who were involved in the request and the priority, and that it looked like a good opportunity for us as the commission to learn how the process can move forward for consideration. So I would have shared in the future, I would be sharing that kind of reasoning with you, but it would not become final until after we've had the discussion at a meeting because it's coming in under future agenda. Councilor Ryan.
Maybe we can't avoid this, but I'm aware of a request that also had multiple signatures from Dennis Drive. And what I'm hearing tonight is that we're going to go to those folks and say, please resubmit and put it on the portal, and then we'll move on your request. Is that correct?
Yes. We are going to request that people come back to get things into the portal because the portal is not just an entry system, but it's a management system.
Right, it's recording, exactly. So it's good that we have a record. And I realize at some point we just have to make a decision. We have to say, okay, this is the point. And so I understand that. The only concern, again, there's not much we can do about it, is it's unlikely the portal will be live in the next 2 weeks. So if our liaison goes out and she can't really communicate with folks until the portal is live. So that will come after the portal goes live. She can't ask them to put something on the portal if the portal isn't live. So that's going to take at least a week or two, maybe more. And that's just the way it's going to be.
That's correct.
All right.
But
Yes,
if I understand correctly, we are cognizant of requests that have been made, even if they're not yet in the portal. I assume that would be factored in. Thank you.
Yeah, the one that we had taken up for reasons that had to do with the simplicity of it and the fact it was a parking issue as opposed to one of the other kinds of issues is Kendrick Park. We have not taken up any others at this point. Ms. Tremblay?
Yeah, I would just like to say that overall, this is an equity issue because everyone has access to the portal. Not everyone has access to their counselor or an email to their counselor or even knows who their counselor is. So, like, I feel like this is an equity issue. And, someone, for example, like certainly someone who has gathered a lot of signatures, there's also a place on the site for that to be uploaded. And that certainly is taken into account. And certainly there's a place for someone to type that I have contacted my counselor repeatedly on these dates with this issue. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting that the management system is a negative. It's a great positive. The form is desired, it's worthwhile. And prior to this point in time, there has been no method of submitting other than email. Whether it's an email or a form, all the requests have been submitted via a computer. So I think the previous requests versus current don't relate to equity in that sense because it's communicated via PC, but going forward, it makes great sense. But there are people who have submitted requests and have been patiently waiting for responses for a long time. And the committee isn't, it's for the chair, of course, but I'm just suggesting that it's a factor and not necessarily Dennis Drive. That's one. There's multiple other streets that as we go forward, this is going to be great because it's going to be a list and we'll have a repository of information. So I share your desire or assumed desire, Kim, for a system that retains it and has a standardized process. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Pag?
Thanks. Not to belabor this, but I guess I'm curious, and if it's my fault, please forgive me. Have we seen a list of what has been submitted to date? Like, I don't recall seeing or understanding the scope of what might already have been submitted. So it's kind of question A. question B about prioritization, and Kim, you bring up a good point about equity, and you said it during our discussion of Mount Holyoke Drive. The concern I have, and I don't want to make this process worse for us, but if we're always accepting or seeing a new batch, you know, we're we're likely to entertain one and raise it up and have a discussion and vote on it, but then the next day another one could arise, and so like in where I used to work, there would be application windows, during which the first 3 months, or you could do 6 months, or some way for applications to pool and then be looked at together, I think is one of the only ways I can really understand how we're going to continue to prioritize when we get new applications coming in, especially if we launch an online portal, we're going to get a lot. So they'll be on a rolling basis is going to make it hard to prioritize something on a rolling basis. So just a thought for later, because I kind of agree with where we're at. We do need to begin to address ones that have already been submitted. But the rolling basis, I think, is going to make it hard to prioritize as things come in over a period of a year or something like that. So just an observation. Thanks.
I agree.
Councilor Cloud?
I agree with Jeff's comment, and it'll be a challenge, of course, for the chair, recognizing that there's going to be a lot of incoming. I referenced CPA, and there are other applications where we received applications over a course of a month. That's not going to be applicable necessarily for something as grand and involved in this, but it was a process where there's a window time period where applications come in, and then that tranche gets reviewed. And it's worked well in other circumstances without ever necessarily closing it down, but it's just, there are other examples where it's worked. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Sam, what's CPA?
The Community Preservation Act Committee, every year there's requests that come in for funding similar to the CDBG. And, in that circumstance, there's a form like we have. There's a 1 month application time period, 6 weeks, and then thereafter they're adjudicated. It's a much easier process, however, than what we're embarking on here, because that only had 15 or so total applications. This is much more involved, and I have a feeling there'll need to be adaptations and prioritizations of, hey, this group here are all easy to deal with, let's get them done. Andy will have to wrestle with that, but I'm just free flowing in my thoughts as we're commencing to try to contribute to the as we develop a process. Thank you.
I think a very good discussion has been raised, and I appreciate it. I think we probably do need to come back at some point to have a conversation about whether we want to have a period of the year when new applications can come in and shut off the new applications at that point in time, with the view that nothing that's being asked for is being treated as something that is so much of an emergency that it can't wait until the next round. There probably are solid arguments on both sides. I think it's a good discussion that we will need to have as to what is the better approach for this commission. I don't think we're prepared to have it tonight, but I appreciate it being raised as an issue of a discussion that needs to occur. What I would like to do, if I can, is quickly share screen, and then what I would just put up the policy, the town council policy on the public ways, and the section that I was referring to. And so hopefully, see if unfortunately, I'm not sure I've gotten the right one yet. But I had, Now, are people seeing the policy on the screen?
Yes.
Okay, so this is section F, subcategory 3, then small h and double I comes up. And it says, let's see. All major roadways, sidewalk redesigns, including but not limited to roundabouts, mini roundabouts, and splitter islands, intersection control traffic lights, street lights, and other public way requests relating to, as opposed to parks or commons, but not exempting repairs. And then let's see if I can get. It had crosswalks in it. That's why I was looking.
There it is.
All permanent changes to roads or sidewalks other than layouts, including but not limited to bus stops, additions. You can read that for yourself. Speed limits, truck limits, traffic calming, rectangular, rapidly flashing beacons, driver feedback signs, speed humps, raised crosswalks, etc., and traffic amenities. The council delegates to the TPC the authority to authorize permanent changes, provided, however, the town manager shall retain authority for the implementation thereof, and goes on with expenditure of funds. And then it says the town council all major roadway and sidewalk redesigns, including not limited to all roundabouts, mini roundabouts, splitter islands, intersection controls, traffic lights, street lights, and other public ways, requests relating to roads, not the town council retains authority as keeper of the public way, provided, however, that prior to council action, TPC shall hold a public meeting on each request and make a recommendation to the town council on that request. So
Andy, it's divided between two very different categories, right? One has to do with the kind of thing we dealt with tonight. The other deals with major roadway changes. And I think it's pretty clear that in what we're dealing with tonight, we have the authority to basically authorize, but it's dependent on funding and on the manager's decision. In the other category, it does go back to the town council because it's considered a major change. And so I think that they're two very different things. I don't know if that's the point you plan to make, but that was the point I was trying to make earlier. That in this particular case, because it is a crosswalk, it has a different set of criteria for what we can or cannot do. And in this case, we can, in fact, and did, or we're going to, or have, recommended and authorized this change by our vote. And then it goes to the manager, and he looks at his budget, and we see what happens. But it does not go to the council. And part of the point of this was to try and relieve the council of some of these things and to create a body that actually had some, not limited, but some authority. But obviously our authority is obviously limited ultimately by funding, which we don't control. This is not a major roadway or sidewalk redesign.
yeah, let me take that under consideration. And if it doesn't require going to the council, then we will just submit it accordingly. I just need
I
to
think it's a
think about the
document,
process.
people really have to keep it close, especially early on, because things are a little bit complicated, in terms of what we can and cannot do. But this is one thing where we do have a little bit more, authority, if you wish, but it is still constrained by funding.
Okay, I see your hand up, Ms. Tremblay.
Thank you. But it doesn't mean that we can't prioritize before we send such, because I feel like at some point, like, you know, it's a good, it's it's a useful and public way of like suggesting what might get funding and why. And I know this is hard, but I feel like that is useful ultimately.
I think that the question that we're really looking at is the sentence that's currently on the screen that begins with the I.
I
What does
understand, but at the
what
same
is
time,
that sentence intended to do and to define? And that's where we're kind of at this point having to make a decision. Councillor Ryan and then Mr. Bag, Councillor Ryan.
I just want to say I don't disagree, with Kim. I think that that discussion of prioritization is an appropriate one, and I think we will have it many times. But I would also point out that in the end, no matter what we prioritize here, it goes to the manager and he has a budget, goes to Guilford, and there are limitations. And it may turn out that something we prioritize doesn't get done in a particular year because there simply isn't funding for it, but something that we prioritize at a lower level does get done because there is funding for it. But yes, I think we should do it, and I think it will be useful and helpful. And maybe also Jeff's suggestion that and you mentioned, Andy, we can talk about this later. Maybe having a window would help so that it might make this a little less of a challenge. But a rolling approach, we're going to face this all the time. You know, we're going to say, well, there's how much money is there? And in the end, I'm not sure that's something that we really can get into. But
Yeah, it's my thinking that in the end we may need to involve the town manager and the council president in making sure that there's agreement on what is a major sidewalk or roadway redesign. Mr. Bag?
Thanks. I was hoping, Mr. Steinberg, if you could zoom out a little bit. So at the top in the middle of the page is the plus and minus arrow. Just if you could see without changing that, can you zoom out, see the minus in the middle of your, because I can only see a little bit, and I want to just make a quick point. Do you see the plus and minus in the middle of the screen at the top of the bar there? Just so we can see more of the text. I can't do it. I'm looking at it on my other screen, but yeah, thank you. So I see a structure to this list. We're looking at item H, right? Other requests for permanent changes to public way. The point I wanted to make is if you go up through, and I'm not suggesting don't scroll, but if you look at utility structures, which is G, and F, which is reservation of sidewalks, it's pretty clear the pattern here, which is the town council delegates. So this is F. Town council delegates to the board of license commissioners. G is town council retains the authority. H is the little I, gives the TPC the permanent changes, and then little I2 there, the second one, all major roadways, goes back to town council. So I see a really clear structure that we're looking at little I. I would make an argument that we are not talking about a major roadway or sidewalk redesign, given the rest of the examples. Roundabouts, mini roundabouts, splitter islands are all in the roadway that sells, and it clearly says crosswalk placement. Rapid flashing beacons is specifically listed in little I. So I think I would argue that we're clearly in little I here. And maybe we need to bring in others to interpret that, but I have a pretty clear feeling that we're within that item small I. So that's just my 2 cents. I have the full document open on my other screen, but I just wanted to offer that.
Okay, thank you. I think that I'm I am now of agreeing with Mr. Ryan, to Councilor Ryan, and what you just said, that we should just notify the petitioners so that this doesn't need to go to the council and go straight to the town manager. Certainly. And I think I'll just assume that that is an agreement unless somebody raises their hand and asks to be recognized. Because otherwise, I'd like to go on to at least one additional item on the agenda. And that is, so I need to just do a stop share so I can get that off the screen. When we had last had our discussion about the Amethyst Brook School and the traffic patterns, what we realized is that this we could not, with monthly meetings, try and devise a plan for what would happen at the beginning of September when the new school opens. And that the thing that was most appropriate was for a smaller group of staff people, as it would be designated by the town manager, to go ahead and take care of making sure that there's a plan in place. We had a very good discussion. Everybody was aware of what we talked about, which was that we look to see if there's any assistance needed. The question is how to make sure that people can get out of that single entrance that's going to be the entrance when the school opens safely. And the town manager then asked Superintendent Mooring and Chief Ting to kind of lead a discussion of that process. And I just made the suggestion that they try and consult with the person who is from the schools, who is Mr. Gallo O'Connell. I asked Mr. Mooring if he would just tell us where that discussion went and whether there's any recognition now or of what needs to come back to this commission, or whether the thought is that we need to wait until we see what happens. And Mr. Mooring.
Good. Can everybody see the map of the school?
Yes.
Okay. So there's been some changes since the last meeting of the committee. There's not going to be one entrance. There's actually going to be 3 entrances going on during school opening, because one's good, 3's better. Sorry, that's just a joke. So at the north end, the existing driveway is going to become the construction entrance to tear down the school, which is, if you drive by now, you'll see there's an entrance for that. They will build the permanent north entrance next to it, which will go into the parking lot as such. And then the bus entrance will be at the south end, like it's originally planned. So they'll have buses coming in the south end, and then drop off and teachers will come in the north end. And then there'll be construction equipment going on, not during drop off time. That was one of the stipulations, is not during drop off time. You can't go in and out. So there's going to be some temporary flashing yellow lights at the north entrance and the south entrance. And for the first few weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, there will be a police officer stationed at the intersections during drop off and pickup. And that is how they're going to handle the circulation and the drop off and pickup going for the first 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. So that's how we're going to do it. After the first week or two, there's probably going to be a look to see if it's working or not, but that's the plan right now. There is an item or two items that will come to the TPC. The first one is the old Southeast Street in front of the old Southeast Street School. The town manager is going to temporarily change that to permit parking. And then the TPC will probably be asked to make it a permanent change for 6 months or so. And then there's a little piece of property that's up here on the other side of Main Street. It's in the public way, so it is part of the public way. It's not a private piece of property. That will be designated as permit parking as well. And that'll have to come to the Public Transportation Parking Commission for approval to make that permanent parking. There's a possibility of a third one, which will be on private. Well, it's on a parcel. It does not fall under control of the TPC. So the issue is that while they're tearing down the school, they're losing almost half the parking for the teachers and staff. So these permanent parking spaces will be for teachers and staff to park and then go to work and then come back. So that'll be the one thing we're asked to deal. That'll be the one thing we're asked to deal with probably at the next meeting. That's the plan for how things will work around the school when the school starts. Yeah, happy to take questions. Sam?
Thank you for bringing this topic, Andy, and thank you, Guilford, for the presentation. Did I hear you correctly, Guilford, that you were referring to one of the additional parking areas being the South Amherst School, or were you referring to the East Street School directly opposite Fort River?
It's the East Street School. It's East Street, the road. It's Southeast Street, the road. So it'll be, right now there's parking allowed on one side of the street. So we're going to allow permit parking on both sides of the street. And we're going to push all the residents off the street, what we're going to do.
Okay. Thank you.
Ian?
Yeah, actually, I had been tasked to ask a question about this because we had a presentation about a affordable housing that's I think having a adaptation put onto it. But there's currently 14 parking spots with 2 handicap parking spots on that Service Street, Southeast Street. And so what you're saying is that is all going to be shifted to teacher and school staff parking?
Yeah, are you talking about down here at Watson Farms?
I believe so. Yes.
So Watson Farms has this little parking space here, which is off the public way. We're not changing that.
Okay. Okay.
There is a proposal for housing to go into the old Southeast Street School, but that's not happening right now. So that also will be available for parking, but doesn't require any changes from us.
Okay. Good to know. Thanks.
Oops, sorry, I don't want to make you seasick. Kim?
Yes, thank you. So after the first week of school is when UMass starts. So I would hope that the police might stick around at least for 2 weeks because of that, because I imagine the traffic pattern will just change. Secondly, when I thought the demolition of the old school starts a month or two. I'm sorry, I didn't actually hear when that happens. When will the demolition of the old school occur?
So demolition is starting now as we speak.
Oh, so that's concurrent with everything else.
Yes. The new students at school have a nice thing to watch as they in school
Yeah.
class.
Yeah.
They're
that
starting now.
Okay, that makes it really complicated. Thank you.
And the police are supposed to be there 2 to 3 weeks. Jeff?
Thank you. I think it's a great use of the street, Southeast Street there to go double-sided, go on both sides. I was initially curious if it's one way. I'm on Google Maps and can see that it's one way, so that makes a lot of sense. My questions are really basic, but and you probably already covered it, but you were saying permit parking, right? It sounded like you were saying permanent, but you're saying permit.
Permit.
So what? Permit?
Permit.
Permit. Thank you. So my best guess is you would erect signs, and I wanted to confirm that. And that would you be striping the spaces, or would you just allow people to figure it out?
No, they're going to be just signs that say permit parking. The places you can't park will be marked out so you can't park there. And then it'll just be people, when there's no spaces marked, they tend to park tighter and closer. So we're trying to get as many people in there as we can.
Okay, that makes sense. And then just enforcement. I think, having an eye towards enforcing the permit, like so making sure that people got the permit, like they applied or got the permit and have a sticker. And I think the enforcement at the early stage will be really important to level set this so that people know that if they are sneaking in there without a permit, they'll get a ticket, and that will help. Like right off the bat, I think that'll help change people's patterns. But I think it's great. So good job.
Sam?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I'm really glad to see that there's a second entrance that's usable aside from the construction and demolition entrance. I think I'm very glad to see that there are three, two of which will be utilized.
So is there anything else? So this is really just to get a report back. And if there's nothing else, we're now getting to the end of our established time, or really at the end of our established time, which we always try and target for. The question of parking rules at Kendrick Park, we're not going to have a good discussion today, but what I'm really looking for, and actually if you emailed to me, it would be very helpful. And that is any thoughts that you have about information that we ought to obtain to have that discussion regarding changeover of some number of parking places that would only be allowed to be used for hourly parkers. And that was what the recommendation from the citizen who brought this forward was, and what the discussion was at the last meeting. But we recognized in our last discussion that there are a lot of factors on both sides of this, because there are the people who are using all of those spaces as residential parking, and where they get displaced to then becomes a question too. So without inviting a discussion today, I urge you to give some thought to that. If you have anything to suggest, you're welcome to send it to me in advance. Otherwise, we're going to have a very limited agenda at our next meeting, probably, because aren't really in a position to go forward with any kind of substantial discussion of this at that point. So, questions, comments, Mr. Odwalt?
This falls into things not anticipated in 48 hours. But my work schedule in September is changing, and so I unfortunately have had to step down from the Commission for Persons with Disabilities. And so subsequently this will be my last meeting here. But the commission will be electing a new person, and I'll report back from today's meeting to the commission. And so I've let them know, and we had our last meet. I had my last meeting with them yesterday. But unfortunately, I will no longer serve on this committee.
Well, I'm very sorry to hear that you're not going to be able to continue as a part of the Transportation Parking Commission. It's been great having you, both as a representative and just as somebody who really understands the issues that we're discussing in general. And so you were very effectively handling two roles. So thank you for having served, and congratulations, I assume, on the advancement of where you're going. And not much else I can say.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Ryan.
So Andy, is it fair to say that aside from the Kendrick Park discussion, any future requests from residents? Now, there could be something from Guilford, from staff, but anything from the residents will have to wait now until we have the portal up and we have everything sort of entered into it, at least at some point. At that point, we'll be able then to begin to put items on the agenda related to public requests.
I think that I can look through the list and propose by email. Question was asked earlier, I think by Mr. Bagg. There is that what exists right now is a library that is mostly emails that have been received or other requests by other communications that have been all converted to PDF. We have a number of those that are in a file, and I can share them with you. I have no objection to sharing them. They were came in various ways, but I think they were all intended for discussion. It might be helpful for everybody to have a copy of that. There was a feeling that the subcommittee wanted to focus originally on process and not get into substantive discussions, which was why there was sort of this urging that we not share that list, but that library. But I think we can at this point do so. You have any problem with doing that, Mr. Tremblay?
Yes, I do. Because in my experience, and this is totally me, and my guess is it's a lot of other people, it's a lot easier to write an email or talk to someone directly than it is to submit a formal request. Like we're suggesting people do for our committee, for the portal.
Councilor McLeod?
Thank you. Were you intending, Andy, that you would send an email to let the committee be informed of what's been sent in, and also make the request that they go on to the form?
I think that the major request that we were hoping to make is that the person who's making the request be the one who takes the major responsibility of getting it into the system using the portal. And the question is, should we pick any out right now just based upon the emails? And I think if we don't do that, then where do we go from here? What I've been trying to do is focus on getting a little bit of variety so that we would be able to learn a bunch of things that are happening. We could actually, I guess my suggestion would be for me to look back at ones that involve the question of speed limits, and then not necessarily pick the ones that are most important, but use the opportunity to do something that I think is very important, and that is an explanation of how speed limits can be set under state law and DOT regulations, and what we can do as a town, and what requires a process that is dictated and regulated fairly heavily. That'd be as much a good way to learn about a very important issue that we need to be aware of at some point. Councilor Ryan?
Jeff is before me.
Thanks. I appreciate the discussion. It's good. I have to go. This is a very long duration for me to be away. So I am going to bow out. I think it's a great discussion. I think we should continue it. Thank you.
Okay, we were about to adjourn anyway, so thank you.
I was going to say the same
Ryan,
thing. I was going to say the same thing as Jeff. Sorry.
would you like to make a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
Second. Okay, then we'll take a quick vote. Mr. Bagg has now left the meeting. Councilor McLeod?
Aye.
Superintendent Mooring?
Aye.
Mr. Trevor?
Aye.
Councilor Ryan?
Aye.
And I, and Ms. Tremblay.
Yes. Thank you.
So it's unanimous. We are adjourned. I thank you. It's been a very productive meeting, and we'll get that other one issue settled and go forward with the motion that we passed today, as is in an appropriate fashion. So
Thank you, Andy.
good night.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.